on is, I want to put myself into the shoes of an MBA graduate and then see how best my future is looking in terms of my career in the field of analytics. Yeah, that's exactly this presentation is all about, and my session is all about. So let's move on. So the first question that we all have in our minds actually, once we pass this MBA graduation, you guys are looking at what's my future going to be looking like actually, especially in today's situation when there is a pandemic. A lot of businesses shutting down. There are a lot of businesses shrinking. Globalization is moving into nationalization. Actually, a lot of people countries want to protect their jobs. So in such situations, what's my future going to be looking like? We'll just look quick look at macro, and then we'll jump into analytics and then find out actually how best and what my advice would be for you as a budding MBA graduate. So what's my future? The critical questions typically in the minds of any MBA students is, will I get a job, which is a basic question, especially with so many management institutions, and then having chosen analytics as a specialization probably. What kind of future do I have, and will I get a job? That's a very important question. Will I be able to compete? Actually, today there are a lot of courses, there are a lot of certifications, there are a lot of working professionals are also who are jobless, willing to come for a lesser salary. So as an MBA graduate, what's my future looking like? That's the big question in my mind actually. Yeah. So, the other questions like stable income, do I get an income? Do I get a part-time job or a full-time job? What kind of job would it be? Especially in analytics, actually being a very specialized subject, how do I get into what kind of, career group path that I like to make myself? All these are in the minds of, all the MBA graduates, not just from this university or college, but for any of the university or colleges whoever I speak to, either with the faculties as well with the students. Actually, these are big questions in their minds, right? So what is the effect of COVID-19? I mean, just I'm giving you a snapshot of what is the effect of this COVID at a macro level. Before COVID, we were actually using office workspace. We were having a brick and mortar office available for us actually to actually do our job. But today, what has happened actually? I mean, if you see, I mean, we all gone into work from home. I mean, any industry today actually has gone into this model actually, except for certain manufacturing where the plant has to be shut down. But other than that, any of the service industry has been now, fortunately, we're all digitally connected, like in this actually. So hence, we're all working from home. That's a big change that has happened actually. And I will tell you what is the impact of this for analytics professional. Previously, the workforce was moving towards more of employment. Actually, people want to get employed and get a stable income, and that's all previous generation. But these millennials are looking for employment, but not a kind of an employment. I call it as engagement, actually. So I have in my company itself a few youngsters, actually, a few millennials who joined me on just on a project basis engagement. So what is the difference here between an employment and engagement? Now, employment actually is all about actually, probably looking at a permanent basis work actually within a particular organization. But today, more and more organizations are moving towards engagement, and they don't offer you a letter of employment. We offer a letter of engagement. So probably, let's say I want to develop a product on, let's say an analytics engine, predictive analytics engine. I will not go and employ, an analytics professional or a person who understands AI or ML. Rather, I would just offer them a letter of engagement basis of project. So the trend is moving towards from employment to engagement. Yeah. Now, no more recall as an employee. Actually, rather, most of these millennials actually they want to really have enjoy the professional freedom. So they want to become an entrepreneur. Actually, they don't want to get stuck into one organization. Even in big brands, actually, they don't want to join those big brands. Actually, unless there is a financial, crisis that they're facing at the family level, where they have to go and get employed. But most of the millennials, actually, including my daughter, actually, I mean, they're very clear in their, you know, their future in terms of they want to do something different, unique, professionally, freedom environment. So become an entrepreneur, try to bring in their expertise, and then build a new product, unique services, or whatever. Actually, and that's the trend. That's the trend, and the effect of COVID has actually fast tracked this. Actually, the COVID situation today is making more and more people thinking towards becoming an entrepreneur rather than an employee, because most of the businesses are dwindling down, the opportunities are coming down, and while the opportunities are coming down on one area which could be seen as a problem, positively I also see a lot of opportunity areas which I'll discuss later part of the this session. So we're moving from a salary to a fee. Today, if you ask me, out of the the consultants that I've engaged, actually not employed, most of them are on a fee basis, basis of project. So there is no fixed salary provided to them. We don't expect a monthly salary sitting and working in an organization for that. Rather, we pay them basis, either on a time and material basis or a project basis. If it's a time and material basis, pay per hour. Such kind of work is what is becoming more and more trending, and that's what most of the organizations are preferring. Even big organizations, without quoting the names, I can tell you, with my experience, are moving towards this model of offering a fee rather than a salary. So they don't want to take the burden of employees in their payrolls, and then having a hefty overheads in their expenses, especially on staff expenses. So most of the times, they want to ensure that if it's a project based, get into an engagement model and pay them a fee rather than a salary. So from a physical environment, with obviously thanks to digital interventions and a lot of things that is happening in the last few years, actually we've moved to very virtual. Actually today, I connect to any part of the world actually through virtual, actually digitally, and like what we're doing now in this webinar, where we are sitting from home and then listening to whatever actually, be it on the education side, be it on the work side, any sector for that matter. Of course, the primary industry like manufacturing requires a physical presence, actually, and a physical, requirement of materials and resources to produce. But however, most part of the industry domain, actually, I would say, has moved from physical to virtual. And with the effect of COVID, this has become very, very super fast, actually. So a lot of companies have moved into this, actually. I'll give you some examples. For example, today I'm working with one of the largest call centers, actually helping them improve their productivity, especially working with them on the analytics. They have come out with a work from home, CS in a box type of a solution, customer service in a box, where they're providing an app in the mobile, actually, where a call center agent can pick up the call sitting right there in their home, with a noise cancellation facility where there is no disturbance. And that's the model today. Everybody is going in, and the whole cost around rental premises, physical brick and mortar has all have to come down actually over a period of time. And that's what this COVID situation has actually forced us into. And it has made this kind of a change, very fast. So this is a very, very critical one, and it's of relevance to analytics professional. I'm going to touch upon this in the next few minutes. We're moving from a man to machine environment. Yeah, we prefer as much as possible robots, machines, artificial intelligence, or some kind of aid which will help us in solving our business problems. So the effect of COVID is, though these were there actually as a thought process before COVID, with this pandemic, actually, it is now fast tracked in such a way that we are moving towards these changes, and we are experiencing that. And we are in a very, very, critical situation where we are experiencing these dramatic changes significantly happening with a very high speed, actually. And that's where many of the industries are very, facing the challenge to cope up with this kind of a speed of change. So this speed of change is so high with this pandemic, and we could clearly see that these changes happening, actually. Yeah. So let's talk about analytics, some basics, actually, and my view of what is this analytics and how does it work, actually. What kind of a profession, or a career that I may have to take after this MBA graduation. The critical problems that we face is actually, obviously, we're dealing with big data, and we all know that, actually. I remember back in 1999, I was part of SAP implementation in one of the largest manufacturing organization back in 1998-99, where we were using SAP R3 version. Now imagine that was the time SAP was gaining importance, significance within the Indian markets with various industries. So imagine such kind of big data, available for almost now 20 years. And what are we doing with this data? I mean, the size is so huge. We do not know what to do with this data. The technology, ERP and CRM and various other solutions have helped us to get that amount of data, which is big in size, which is variety, all the four V's of big data. So the problem that most of the organizations today face is where to store this big data. I mean, that's a big issue. And there are also associated risks around that on the storage solution. I mean, that's when, obviously the cloud came as a solution for storing this data. And today, any company, any organization can have its data stored in any of those clouds being offered by Google or Amazon or anybody. Actually, basically use this kind of uh, cost-effective storage spaces to store their data. Of course, with this comes the concerns on security, information security, and other things. But still, that's the way forward, and that's what is happening, actually. I mean, we are having even big companies actually can't afford to have physical servers, actually have to go for buying these cloud services and store their big data. And that's happening across, actually. And this is happening even for very big, large multinational corporations. And that's the first thing to ponder in terms of how do we store this, where do we store this big data, that's cloud. The next question that we are asking is, okay, I've stored this data, now how to analyze this. Actually, I mean, it's important that this big data has to be mined, looked at from various insights, and how do we make sure that this big data is helping us on prescriptive and predictive analytics. So how to analyze? That's a big question in the minds of people. So we need to have some kind of an analytics. There are a lot of tools available, actually, from a simple BI tool like a Microsoft BI tool to a Tableau visualization tool to any of the programming languages helps you to analyze data. But of course, it involves human beings to put their cognitive ability. But which is where the subject of artificial intelligence and machine learning is gaining momentum today. And I'll talk about in a moment actually how it is helping and what it is happening, especially in the COVID situation, and what kind of projects we are dealing with without disclosing client's name because of confidentiality breach. I will just touch upon what kind of projects that we're doing and what is that the industry is interested in, especially from analytics domain. So the question that after storing the big data is how to analyze and what kind of analytical ability that we can bring in, capabilities that we can bring in. Now, having analyzed the data, and I have to make this available to the right audience, at the right place, with the right kind of information for them to help them take some decisions, scientific management decisions. Now, that's where the question comes, actually. I mean, is there any way that I can do something which, helps me to get this kind of insightful business insights information anywhere, anything, anytime types. That's where our handheld devices or any of those comes into picture. The mobility, the mobile, because today, this small instrument in our hands, a smartphone or a tablet or any of those digital connected devices, helps us to have these informations, insights, anywhere, anytime, anything, in any part of the globe. And you would have seen actually, I mean, in today's world, actually today, we are connected from anywhere, from any part of the world, as long as we have the connectivity. So the three questions are logically sequenced in such a way. The first question that the industry is facing is where to store the big data, which is in the cloud, and the cloud has got its own trends and future, preferences in terms of how the field is going to be. And then followed by, once I've stored this data, how to analyze, where we come in the analytical capabilities and the competencies, whether should we use a human being, should we use a cognitive engine, how and what, all those things, which is where I will discuss most part of this session. And after that, the logical question is, once I've analyzed, how do I make this information available to the right audience, wherever they are actually, through their devices, smart devices, in whatever form that they have. Now, that's a logical third question. And obviously, the other aspect is actually we can also connect to with ease with all the people, actually, especially with social media. So the social media is another area which is gaining importance here, not only just collecting the data from the people, but also making that information disseminated to them actually in whatever form actually. But of course, there are always challenges in terms of information security. So you look at these four questions, and that's what we call actually, and I mean, this has been termed quite a few years back as SMAC: social media, mobile, analytics, and then cloud. So now, as MBA graduate, actually, I mean, I've been telling the people to be in one of these fields actually, if they really want to make themselves future proof. I use the word future proof is basically to say that, and these are the trending, fields in the industry, and our focus is now today on A, which is analytics actually. So analytics, how is it changing, and especially with this pandemic situation, how this has got changed? That's a question that we're asking now, actually. Yeah. So SMAC is integral part of every industry. Actually, there is an industrial revolution which we are all aware. Actually, it is happening across. Hello. Did everybody put on mute? Yeah. So SMAC is an integral part of the version 4, the digital factory, be it a primary manufacturing or a service industry, and the entire supply chain. And there are lots of things happening across here actually, especially thanks to digital interventions. We all know about that. So the key message, is clearly that our focus is in any of these letters that you see there, SMAC. That's what we're looking at, and today's session is all about analytics. So I'm going to touch upon how is it changing in analytics, domain, and what is the future analytics professional looking like, and what are the kind of projects that we're doing so far. Now, this is just to give you an idea in terms of how this plays out as a role in the industry, and how this is going to change. So how does a future analytics professional? Let's talk about a bit on analytics. And we all know actually analytics, actually, we get into a lot of courses, either an elective course or a certification course. Today, a lot of universities are offering analytics courses, certification courses. And how does a future analytics professional, will be looking at their roles and responsibility, and how is it changing, especially in today's context of pandemic? That's what we're going to look at. So basically, in any analytics, you start off with a business problem or a hypothesis. For example, let me give you some examples so that you all understand. business problem today. Actually, I was working with one of the largest media and entertainment company in India uh, on their partner governance. They have three partners who handle their media campaigns. So they run a campaign management for this particular large media and entertainment company. So their business problem was actually they're paying out on FTE basis. They're actually paying those partners basis the number of human resources involved actually in running the media campaign. Now, their business problem was how much is their idle payout? What kind of idle payout they are actually making out? Actually, when people are idle, the question that they are asking is, why should I pay? So that is a big business problem that this media and entertainment company had actually. So this is just an example of business problem. I have enough number of business problems what they're facing. So as an analytics professional, my first objective is to look at what is the current problem faced by the business. What's the problem statement? That's what is my first thing. The second expectation on an analytics professional is you not just being a mere analytics profession will help. Let me give you an example. I had in one of my recent ones, actually, I had a analytics professional who has done his MBA from Great Lakes. Actually, he was working with me. He was an intern actually working with me on a project on predictive analytics engine. But that guy doesn't have any domain knowledge. That was a big handicap that we had actually when we were working on this project. So one of the other expectations and why analytics actually is combined with the business management is basically you should also have fairly some idea, if not a specialist. You don't have to be a specialist in that particular area, because it takes a long years of experience actually to work on those industries to gain the domain knowledge. But however, you should have a fairly an idea in terms of be it in healthcare or a media and entertainment or a banking and financial services or whatever industry, some idea about the products and services, what is that industry all about, how are they generating the revenues and so on and so forth. So an analytics professional is expected to have a domain knowledge also. And all these are expectations even before COVID, let me tell you. And what changes with COVID is what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes from now. But all I'm saying is this is a typical expectation of a good analytics professional. So I would expect the person to understand a business problem. I would expect that person to have some domain knowledge, actually, some basic domain knowledge. You don't have to be a subject matter expert in that particular area. If you are a subject matter expert, definitely you gain a lot of, you contribute a lot of value to the organization, but still it's not a mandatory requirement, but you should have some idea like banking products and let's say if you're dealing with the banking, you need to know some basics of banking. If you're dealing with the healthcare, you should know something basis healthcare, a pharma company. Recently, I was handling some project for analytics for a pharma health major in Hyderabad. Actually, they were looking for pharmacovigilance process automation and how do we bring in analytics into that pharmacovigilance and then ensure that compliance is there. So some idea should be there actually from the domain. That's an expectation, a fair expectation. And irrespective of whether this pandemic was there or not, this was a fair expectation from the industry. The next area that an analytics professional would look at is in terms of what are the kind of data sources, how do I pick this data, where do I look for this data, is it a primary data, is it a secondary data, what kind of type of data is it what format of data, and all of those things should have had some idea. So I would expect an analytics professional not only understand the business problem, not only have some idea of domain knowledge, but also have some idea on what are the sources of data from where we can pick it up actually. Yeah, there are a lot of public domain data. There are a lot of private data available. So what are the sources? Where is it reliable? All of those things should have been taken care. And actually data source is a very, very important attribute in the overall analytics, because if the source itself is not reliable, that means it's not going to help us get me accurate information. And today we are living in the world of information where there are a lot of fake news, fake information, fake data, everything is there all around us. And we are actually having an overdose of information, in fact. Yeah. I won't call it as an information, I call it as data, because we are yet to process it into an information. But still, what I'm trying to say is data integrity is very, very critical. And that's a fair expectation, as I said, actually, irrespective of whether we had this COVID situation or not. So that's another expectation, from an analytics professional. But that's not from future point of view. Even today, we'll come to what is the future requirement beyond this. So these are all must have. I call it as must have because these are basic things. Actually, if I look for a analytics professional to be hired, I would look them to have some sense of how to understand a business problem, some idea of business domain knowledge, uh, also some idea on where to research, where to get the primary data, secondary data, how does it, what are the sources, which are the reliable sources, what kind of sources do we go in for actually for fetching those data. And of course, the major part is on data cleaning. Actually, I mean, this is a huge exercise that for any analytics professional. Actually, when we do this in the overall analytics process, if you look at it, analytics as a process, data cleaning is very, very critical. And preparing the data for analytics is so important. Actually, so that's also a minimum and a fair expectation from any analytics, irrespective of whether we had this pandemic or not. So the next component is the most critical one, actually, basically, which is talking about the modeling. Basically, here is where our role comes in, actually, as analytics professional. After having the cleaned up data, prepared data, after having understood the business problem, after having had the domain knowledge, we are now looking at data modeling. So we are trying to understand and get some sense out of this data. So data modeling by itself has got its own, steps involved, and I don't want to get into those details. Basically, you design a model, depending upon the type of industry, type of domain, type of problem, and then you test and train and validate, verify. All of those things happens actually, and find before you come out with a model, which will be useful for getting some business insights. So this is where the analytics professional play a very big role actually, because here is where the brain power comes into picture, where we expect the competency to model the data and provide some business insights to the various industry. And that's what is happening, and which is also a very, very critical expectation of an analytics profession. I won't call it as future analytics. I'm going to get into future analytics in a moment. Just hold on. And I'll tell you exactly what are the two projects which are of future based actually, which we are working on in analytics. And whatever I'm saying so far is all about an expectation actually, which is minimal, which was irrespective of actually whether we had this COVID situation or not. Yeah. So obviously, after once you model it, actually you come out with the business, insights, and then help improve them, and then implement those scientific decisions, and hence you achieve the business results. So the whole idea of this analytics is all about actually from a business problem to achieve a business result. That's the whole process that we are looking at actually, and the reason why this analytics profession is becoming more and more important is because of the availability of too much of data. I'm talking about quantitative as well qualitative. Today we have text analytics also. So it can be a combination of both qualitative and quantitative. And how do we get more insights into scientific management decisions? So that slide that you see there actually is all about an expectation of a good analytics professional. If I were to interview someone who could be an MBA grad or a working professional with some analytics background or an analytics certification. Now, now that's not sufficient. And with the COVID, actually, with the pandemic, a lot of things changing. A lot of things changing. Today, I'll talk about actually quickly on a couple of projects that we're doing. Actually, one major project that we're doing, which is actually a game changer, which is completely a game changer in analytics. Actually, and I'm working with one of the larger industry, testing out this, and that's going to be the future. And that's exactly what I'm going to speak to you guys actually to mold your career as a future analytics professional. So what you see there now so far is all about expectation of an analytics professional. So what's the future is all about? In the future, I'm asking a question whether this modeling or any of this should be done by a human being. Why should I have a human being involved in any of this, steps in the analytics process actually? So be it modeling, creating a model, or anything for that matter, actually, why do I require a human being? So basically, the future, what I'm looking at actually, and in fact, we are working on with a couple of industries all about actually eliminating those human beings from that modeling. Actually, I don't want a human brain power here. I want to train a machine. I want to have a AI cognitive engine which will help me to model as good as what a human being would do. So now the question is, what is this analytics professional going to do if a machine is going to do things? Now, what's going to be the future of a human being who is an analytics professional if that's the kind of situation that we get? Basically, the whole role and responsibility of an analytics professional completely changes here, because your brain power is not used in analytics. Your brain power is used in creating and designing an analytics engine. So you become a designer. You become a designer rather than doing the analytics itself. That's a huge change. That's a huge change. While it was talked about as a machine learning, artificial intelligence and all those things as a part of the analytics field, but now it is gaining more momentum, because today I can't afford a hefty salary package for an analytics professional from a top tier college, who has capability to apply his brains or her brains actually to come out of this modeling. So I'm looking for an engine, a bot, if I have to call it a robot, which will help me model this basis all of these things, and I feed in this actually as much as possible. And and the fair expectation from the client side actually is also, from the customer side is also, I don't require a superhuman intelligence actually to interpret this, actually to analyze this and all those things. So I need something which is very simple, available on my smart devices, helping me to take some decisions without overdosage of information. But that information should be very specific and actionable. And that's a clear requirement. I want you to mark these words: specific and actionable. Today, actually, we don't want something as a part of the analytics, actually, where we provide a dashboard, which could be an NLP dashboard, natural language processing dashboard, or any of those dashboards, whatever, like Google Analytics or any of those companies are providing in their products, or Azure, or any of those, actually. What we want is something which is going one step ahead and providing me an actionable insight into what we can do to improve the business performance. And that's what is exactly the project that I'm working on with my team, actually, with one of the largest multinational company, on how to do this actually. So the future, if you ask me personally, is this entire gamut of things that what we are doing as analytics professionals is completely going to change, because you're going to become more a designer. You're going to become, hello, yeah, you're going to become a more of a designer, actually creator, a product developer, entrepreneur, rather than going and sitting in an organization and then applying your human brain power to analyze things. That's a huge change. That's a huge change, because no company is interested in paying an analytics professional a hefty salary package. As I said in the previous slides, actually, we are moving from employee to entrepreneur. We are moving from a salary to a fee-based or project-based engagement, where you provide a fee for creating this kind of a solution. I don't call it as a product, because today we have a lot of products. We have Google Analytics, we have BI engines, we have business intelligence engines. A lot of engines are available. But the one that we have developed recently with one of the largest media and entertainment company has powerful insights into what they can do as management decisions and actions, and see the results themselves. So to that level, this field has gone one step ahead in terms of converting a simple analytics dashboard using a human brain power to automated engine, analytics engine, which can provide business inferences, insights, and actionable control. And I'm going to talk about a CXO cockpit in a moment, actually, which we did for one of the companies. So basically, it helps the business to pinpoint the location of, not only pinpoint the location of the occurrence of the problem, but also look at what are the controllable actions that can be taken to achieve those business results. So the future is all about, we are going to have some analytics professionals sitting in an organization or a data scientist just mining the data, doing the business intelligence conventional, or applying their brain power to do a model, financial modeling, or any of those models. The future is going to be, we're going to build engines actually, which will have the ability to build models, which will have the ability to create models. And that's where the AI and ML, gains a lot of importance, and actually, that's what the future is going to be. So as MBA grads, if you want to actually focus on analytics, as a specialization, I would ask you or request you to keenly listen to this point, where you should not be looking for a career to go and work in a company as a data scientist or a modeling guy or a analytics professional, because most of the companies are actually moving towards buying such kind of engines which have the cognitive power, which has the ability to have artificial intelligence, which can replace the human brain power, where we're going to pay hefty salary packages. And that's not what the industry wants, actually. And that's exactly what we did in two of our projects. I'm going to take you through in the next couple of slides. So the future analytics is all about, I would envisage an analytics guy or a professional to build something, create something, or design something actually as an engine, which will help the business solve their problems on their own without the intervention of this analytics professional. So don't expect a career to have where you go and sit in one of the offices like those days, actually, where you will be given all the capabilities, tools, and platforms, and you'll have to apply your brain power to analyze things, come out with business insights. That is going to change. And that's a remarkable change. That's going to be a game changer. Honestly, that's going to be a game changer. So here is an example of typical expectations of a business, actually. Basically, these are the typical business expectations. So you have a lot of systems today, a lot of source data. I mean, the companies have enough number of systems to capture the data, the various applications, including CRMs, they have the ERP, many systems they have. They have multiple data files, all standalone, siloed, actually each function having its own files stored in as simple as a SharePoint, or it could be in a document management system, or it could be any of those systems, actually. And it's all stored in various FTP locations or any of those servers. Now, these all have to be aggregated into an analytics database, and then from the database, they expect only three things. What they want is basically, how do I conduct my business operations, daily routines? How do I govern my business governance? How do I analyze and then get some insights from the data and improve my business revenue streams? So basically, this analytics, what you're seeing on the down below, is all about either revenue growth or a cost optimization. So how do we look at actually increasing the jaw of income and expense, the jaw between income and expense? Now that's all what the clients are expecting, and it's a very fair expectation. If I were to run a business, and if you were to run a business, that's what you will be expecting. So basically, the business operations, is all about daily routines. Today, how do I manage my people? How do I manage, even if there is some amount of people there on the ground, how do I manage my field agents? How do I manage my collection agents, and so on and so forth? So how do I manage this? So I need some reports, and I need that to be real time. And it could be an NLP dashboard, natural language processing dashboards, for all levels of audience. I need to have red, amber, green status. I need to have some controls and monitors. It's like a blood pressure control or a monitoring device. So that's all they want in their handheld devices, like a smartphone, actually. So business operations is one of the critical requirements, and that's not sufficient. And that's just to run the business. Now, they also want at a senior level of business governance. They want to review the performance of the business on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, quarterly basis. They want to look at, the key performance indicators and how it's happening, what kind of, and if they have the supply chain, their partners govern, vendors, how do they govern that, what kind of targets they have to set for their partners, and so on and so forth. So business governance is another area which the middle management and the senior management are interested in. Business operations is what is the interest of a lower level management, where they want to run the operations on a day-to-day basis. But not least, but not the least, last actually, in fact, the business analytics. Basically, it's talking about not just about past, but also about future. So I'm looking at prescriptive and predictive analytics. What kind of actionable specific improvements that I can bring in? What is that? See, for example, this large media and entertainment company want to govern the partners. They were very clear in terms of the location of the occurrence of the problem. They know exactly which location their ideal payout is high, where the revenue leakage is happening. They know exactly which partner, which location, which type of media campaign. They know everything. That's there in the regular dashboard. Anybody would give that in a BI dashboard. But however, what they are not seeing it is the controlling part. What is it affecting this particular to happen? This is more a symptom. This is more a symptomatic treatment. It's just telling me my blood pressure is high, but it's not telling me why the blood pressure is high. And that's where analytics plays a very big role, and we have done this actually. And this is where the human brain power is converted into a machine. It is converted into an engine, analytics engine, which is able to provide business insights and takes those specific actionable improvements. So the requirements from the analytics is, how do I validate the cause and effect? For example, when I run a media campaign, I want to understand the capacity utilization, relevance and its impact on idle payout. Is the capacity utilization having an impact on, idle payout? Or is the average handle time per call when I do a campaign through a telesales, actually, or through a contact center, is it impacting my idle payout? So these are all the big questions that in the minds of the people. Now, there are many questions like this, and these are all interconnected factors, and that's a big challenge. That is another big challenge in analytics, where this engine, which we have developed recently, has the capability to understand the interaction effect of all these factors and provide a beautiful insight in terms of what the management should take as an action, as a decision. Now that's what exactly the clients are expecting, from an analytics domain actually. And what we need to do is, how do we ensure that we give a solution where there are two important requirements. One, it should be cheaper. One, it should be cost effective. So which means I can't put a resource or an analytics professional or an MBA grad with a hefty salary package actually sitting in the office and doing this analytics and then getting some insights into the business and all those things, the data. On the other hand, I also want my output of this analytics to be easy, comprehensive. People should not have a super intelligence to understand such kind of factors influencing their business performance indicators. So the point here is actually, this is kind of a multi-pronged expectation, and that's where actually, as I explained in the Future Analytics Professional, this engine that we have created recently, and I believe that in future we'll have such kind of engines a lot more to help address these expectations actually in a very, very powerful way. So that's just to give you an idea of what kind of business expectations these people have. Now, here is another example of a CXO cockpit which we recently did. Actually, CXO cockpit is basically a cockpit, like in a flight, actually, where you are able to control the flight. Similarly, you want to control the business. So I have a handheld device, and the handheld device is able to not only tell me what are the performances on the key indicators, be it in operations, finance, risk, productivity, quality, cost, delivery, whatever, but it also tells me actually what are the root causes of this particular performance, and where should I actually focus and take some actions so that I can address those problems. Now, to that level, we have gone to an AI and cognitive engine with this kind of a cockpit. So we don't no more call it as a dashboard, but rather we call it as a cockpit, because you're able to control the parameters. You're able to control things in such a way that you'll get the best performance. So basically, we call it as a digital nervous system of an organization. It helps you in real time, continuous monitoring, as well decision making, because you're able to control things. That's a very, very important. So what we did was, we have three bots. Actually, we have a delivery bot, we have a design bot, we have a training bot. A training bot is basically it has the ability to cognitively train on its own, progressively basis the data and basis the kind of decisions that I'm taking. So training bot is what we use, and design bot is basically telling you in terms of identifying the workflows and where are the critical points, bottlenecks, and so on. So the delivery bot is where it provides you with the real-time intervention and what kind of actions you should be taking. So there are three bots working. Now imagine yourself, earlier we used to have three people occupying these jobs. One is a design, another is a training, another is a delivery. And today it's all replaced by bots. And that's the future of analytics. That's what I'm trying to say. So today I would expect an analytics professional not to go into the office and sit and do this kind of work. Rather, I would, want them to really, design and develop this kind of an engine which will help the industry to do on its own. That's the future of analytics, and that's how it is changing. And this is one of the projects that we did recently for one of the large multinational corporations. Yeah. So basically, from a skill point of view, as an individual, as a future analytics professional, what you're supposed to do, what is your career looking like, actually I spoke about. Let me talk about what is that skill that you should have. It's a life skill, database problem solving. This is a very, very important skill that's required right from the lowest level of the organization to the CXO or a CEO. Today, when I sit in the interview communities of some of the senior management selecting some senior management CXO level positions, we look for problem solving as a life skill, and do they have the real problem solving, and how do they do that? And a database problem solving is very, very critical, and that's where the analytics professional needs to have. So basically what we are saying is, you should have an analytical thinking. Now, analytical thinking goes to the basics which we used to do from statistics in those days, and back in 90s, actually, y is a function of x, actually. And if you look at, actually, in statistics, we call this as a dependent and the independent variable. So you should have a sense of what is the dependent variable and what is the independent variable. Now here is where the problem is. For example, we gave an engine on ideal payout analytics. An ideal payout was the interest variable or the dependent variable in statistics, or in the process language it's called as the output or effect or a response in a systems language, which I'm going to monitor ideal payout. But I can't do anything about ideal payout unless I have an idea in terms of what are the factors which are influencing those ideal payout. Is it, a particular skill of the agent who is handling the media, or is it a media campaign communication effectiveness is having an impact? What kind of factors are influencing this ideal payout is what we are looking at. So in that, we built a predictive analytics engine where we gave them an engine which will fetch all the data sources wherever it is, clean up on its own, keep this data available, and then all that the business user, I'm not calling it as analytics user because these guys doesn't have any knowledge on analytics. They are just business users. They are operations heads, they are marketing heads, or any of those function heads. All that they have to do is, just coin the hypothesis, frame the hypothesis. They're going to say, is ideal payout impacted because of campaign effectiveness? I'm just giving an example. That's all they have to type in there, like a Google progressive search, like an NLP. Now, once they do that, the engine, what my engine is going to do is collect the data on idle payout from the past, collect the data on campaign effectiveness and the various other factors related to that, run a regression automatically at the back end, actually, depending upon the type of data or whatever. I'm just giving an example, actually. It could be any of those analytical tool. Run it in the behind, and then provide a nice visualization in terms of where the location of the problem and what are the factors which are significant. And it's not only saying which are the factors which are significant, it also tells me what should be the factor threshold if I want to achieve an optimal outcome, which is a very, very critical question for the business. So the business is not just interested in knowing whether my ideal payout is high or more, high or less. It is not only interested in knowing what are the factors influencing ideal payout. It is also interested in knowing not just what are the significant factors. It also wants to know at what level of this factor will I get an optimal ideal payout. That's a powerful insight that this engine is giving. So far, I can tell you, only human brain actually capabilities had this power of such insightful actions on the X. Today, we have engines to provide X also, because we want to control. We just don't want to monitor. Now, to me, a good analytics professional should have a very profound knowledge on this, actually, why is a function of X, a mathematical function. What does it mean in a process language? In a process language, Y is an output and the X is what is the input and process, which means if I work on improving the input and process, my output automatically improves. And in statistics, we call it as dependent variable and independent, because ideal payout is dependent on the campaign communication effectiveness. So which means ideal payout is my dependent variable and campaign communication effectiveness is my independent variable. And ideal payout is the effect, and the campaign communication effectiveness is a cost, and so on and so forth. So you should have a very clear analytical thinking and a bit of domain knowledge and all those expectations which I said in the previous slide, and try to build an engine. Don't make yourself available as an employee actually in the future. That's not going to work. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing that happening today actually, because none of the organizations wants to take this kind of hefty package salary professionals in the name of analytics, actually, especially having done wonderful course in some of the top-notch institutions. So what my suggestion is, build on this problem-solving skill, have an analytical thinking, have an entrepreneurial attitude, and build an engine. Your future is yours. You made yourself future-proof. Your career is safe. Good. With that, I stop. Actually, any questions or anything, please feel free.
Hello.
And then we move
Hello,
on.
sir. Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I am Dr. Ananthanarayanan, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Sir, you must be the MBA, and it must be a technical sound person, sir, for analytics engine to develop, sir. Or statistics
Not
is enough, sir.
necessary, Dr. Ananthan. Not necessary. You can always have a team.
Okay.
But typically, that is why the advantage of a good analytics professional is an engineering background, probably with some programming background.
Okay.
But if somebody hates the programming, I've seen that also.
Okay.
I've seen that. I don't expect someone to have a great knowledge on SAS. SAS is dwindling now. It's all Python and R, open source software. So not necessary, actually. You still can manage that, actually, because you are more a business analytics, actually, rather than technically a programming data scientist.
Okay. Sir, I'm working on R programming also, sir. R programming, MATLAB.
Excellent.
These things I'm working on, sir, currently, sir.
Excellent. Please get in touch with me probably after this webinar. I have a lot of problems where we can put our students to work on that. And I want actually today, there's a huge expectation and requirement on, these kind of analytics engines, which we can provide for various domain areas.
Okay. Sir, I'm working on Python also, sir, using Anaconda Navigator.
Yeah. See, the
Yes,
one
sir.
thing is, Doctor, you might be, aware of this. See, the tools may
Okay.
change. The tools may change,
Okay.
but the
Okay.
basic analytics and the way it works actually doesn't change. What has changed now
Okay.
today is, I'll tell you, what I used to do in those days with the SPSS, I can't do with the big data. So today I'm doing with R and
Okay.
Python, right? Now the
Oh,
tools
oh,
may
oh.
keep changing. Now my only
Okay.
problem is actually most of the guys tend to be, I call it a stoolaholic. Yeah, I call it
Okay.
toolaholic. Now the
Okay.
tools may change, but the fundamentals will not change. But
Okay, sir.
definitely we have to be agile, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Today we are
Okay.
dealing with big data.
Okay.
I created this predictive analytics engine with Python only,
Appa.
actually. Yeah.
Oh.
So same thing.
Okay.
So my suggestion is actually we should look for such kind of design and development of such kind of predictive engines,
Okay.
which will help the industry actually, rather than looking for human brain power to be sitting in the
Okay.
industry and doing this actually. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sir, actually, Python, I'm working on Python on R. I can go ahead like that, sir, in future, sir. It will be a good.
Absolutely. No doubt. Open source
Okay.
software is going to be the future. SaaS has
Okay.
completely dwindled down. SaaS has lost its market, actually.
Okay.
Even IBM Cognos, I've been suggesting a lot of universities and industries, they're setting up labs with some of these corporate institutions, but I tell them
Okay, sir.
clearly, don't get
Okay.
carried away by these kind of programming tools. All that
Okay.
you need is basically an infrastructure which has the ability to process these data. That's all. Now, open
Sir,
source is a way of life.
okay. Sir, statistics is actually the predictive analytics, sir. Actually, the statistics, what
It's a
we are
basic,
programming
yeah, it's a fundamental for this. Actually, it is fundamental for this. It
for
is
predictive
fundamental for this.
analytics. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You need to have
With
a
that, I
very,
can do.
very fundamental basic statistics knowledge. If I
Okay.
talk about regression, for example,
Okay. Okay. Yes,
there
sir.
are different types of regression, Poisson regression to a classification regression tree to many things are there. So
Okay.
we should be able to understand the fundamentals of statistics before even jumping into analytics. Very clear.
Okay. Then only I can develop an engine, analytical engine.
Absolutely, no doubt
Okay.
about it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, your email ID, sir. Requesting your email ID, sir.
Sure. I'm going to drop it on the
Please, sir.
chat note, please. Yeah, sure.
Please, sir. Please, sir. I will mail you, sir. Yes, sir.
Sure. Any other question, please? Any other question? Okay, Amrita Lashmi. Okay, let me go through this chat. Yeah, I'm just coming back here and reading something on the chat. Let me go through this chat. One sec. Sorry if I missed something. Otherwise, you can come unmute yourself and ask yourself. There is one person by name Amrita Lakshmi. Is there any better way by which we can do data analytics rather than coding through open source softwares? Yeah, data analytics software, with limited syntax being known is also available, but you can't avoid today because analytics is all about computational analysis. So you need to have some kind of software available for you. But definitely basic statistics is a must actually. I'm not asking you to become a programmer. Please don't change your profession from a business grad or a management graduate to a technical guy. But if you have a technical sound knowledge, it's good. But definitely, I expect you to have some idea of the softwares and the tools available for you to do the analysis. Any other question? Actually, you might chat, put it on chat, or you can um ask as well, please. I hope you all got my email ID there, kalyan@kalviworld.com. You can actually drop me a mail, actually, even if you don't have any questions or any clarifications. I'm working on a number of projects. Let me tell you, I always have a industry academy kind of a tie-up. And my association with DG Vaishnav School of Management has been for many years now. Uh, so feel free to drop me a line, actually ask for any clarifications. But I would request some of those students who are interested to be in touch with me so that we can do something on these engines and create and design something which will be helpful. And I can surely see that these kind of development on the analytics field will help the industry to a great extent. Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, Pravin, uh, we can wrap up. Just before we conclude, I would also want to give a quick intro about the company that I founded and what I'm doing also. A quick 2 minute. There's one question from Kural Inian. Sir, apart from coding, you said to have hands-on practical application. So as a student learning analytics, how can I make it? Actually, I mean, there are a lot of softwares actually, like somebody was mentioning about MATLAB. Today Minitab is there, but again, it can't handle a big amount of data. The unfortunate part is even Excel has today analysis toolpack. In fact, my whole of my analytics, training workshop I provide through Excel. There are advanced Excel. So my suggestion to all of you is go to the fundamentals of some statistics. Understand right from the beginning the types of data, what kind of data, and what type of tools. What is the difference between a parametric test, non-parametric, when to use the parametric, when to use a non-parametric. Some fundamentals on statistics is very, very important if you really want to make this as a profession, because without
Sir,
that you will not be able to actually make any business sense. Yeah.
sir, any educational site, sir, for this one, sir, for seeing the information, sir.
I can send you actually. There are a lot of overdose of information, but I can give you one or two links actually.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Or I don't mind actually if one of you can arrange. It would be a free session. Don't worry. Maybe an
Okay.
hour session where I can conduct and some basic statistics and what are those things that needs to be used. We can do that as well.
Okay. Right.
Sure. Good. So I'll give you a quick idea about what is this Kalvi word. Kalvi is basically in Tamil means education. So Kalvi is Kalyan and Viji, me and my wife actually. Basically, we started this back in 2014, more as a training and consulting company. It started off as a proprietorship, later became a private limited. Today we consult and train some of the top-notch companies in India, Middle East, UK and Europe, across European countries like France, Germany, and then in US as well. So we do for aerospace to automotive to banking to many of the industries, including pharma and healthcare. So analytics is a beautiful subject which can be looked at from all the industry point of view. You don't have to have the entire subject matter expertise or domain expertise, as I said, but you should have some understanding. If you go to a pharma company, their terminology and what they're using. But ultimately, as an analytics professional, you will have the opportunity to work with any of these domains. If you have a sound specialization in statistics background and as well ability to analyze and gain some insights. So I don't mind having one more session to help you understand this. How do we do this? In fact, I can even show you a generic demo of what we did as a tool, as an engine for one of the largest media and entertainment company, which we are rolling out to all the other companies, including healthcare and pharma. It's like customization. Yeah. A startup business can adopt the analytics. Is it cheap or costly? That depends actually. To me, don't go and buy a product. Please never buy a product. That's exactly what I say. First, understand what is your requirement, because today there are a lot of off-the-shelf products available which are not customized actually, and that's where the problem comes. So we need to understand the requirement. I don't think it is costly. My experience has been actually need not be costly unless somebody wants to latch upon to a particular tool, uh, which is off the shelf, which will make you, pay through the nose. Yeah. Yeah, the feedback link I will send you actually, definitely. Any other questions actually? Otherwise, good actually. Thank you for the DG Vaishnav School of Management, Dr. Amaleshwari, Dr. Ramsey, and the student coordinators, all of you guys actually. Thank you for making this. I'm delighted to always have such kind of interaction with the student community and as well with academia. Please feel free to drop me email, anything, and then we'll be able to get it. Yeah, yeah. The link I'm going to send you through email. I don't have it currently actually, but I don't know. There is a lot of information available, Pravin. But I don't want you to get a overdose of information. I want to give you something which is basic and which will help you to get that foundation strong. Yeah, I'll do that through an email, please. Okay, good. Anything else? Otherwise, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and be home, stay safe, be with
Sir,
the family, and then learn
sir,
as much as
excuse me.
possible. Yeah.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you send me the educational site, sir? Please, sir, if you don't mind, sir. Some sites which is useful for analytics, sir, and statistics.
Sure, I will do that. I want
Any
to
site?
I want to get you
Please,
something
please.
which is where you don't spend actually. So give me some time
Okay.
actually. I have in
Okay.
fact
Fine, sir.
even
Fine, sir.
I have I don't mind putting some of the video lectures of some of the top-notch universities. I have a huge
Okay.
collection of that through a Google
Okay.
Drive because the size will be huge
Okay.
actually. But I don't mind
Okay.
doing that actually. It will be very helpful. Yeah, but I'll give you some selected one rather than dumping with
Okay.
you a huge overdose of information. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Good morning. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks for the session. I, on behalf of School of Management, Vaishnav College, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the Honorable Speaker, Mr. Kalyan Krishnamoorthy, for sharing his insights and experiences on data analytics. The way he explained the topic was exemplary and very much inspiring. I wish to express my sincere gratitude to our Director, Madam U. Amaleshwari, for giving us such an opportunity and exposure. Also, we are very grateful to all participants for showing immense support and active participation. Thank you.